These are 15 battle scenes that got it right. Not Hollywood spectacle, not pumped-up action, real tactics, real weapons, real formations, real chaos. Military historians. They all point to these 15 scenes as the most accurate depictions of combat ever filmed. This is what real battles actually looked like. Movie 1, Waterloo, 1970. Napoleon's final battle.
There's no way around it. The way's forward.
Second call! Back to the moon! To the right! Move!
Sergei Bondarchuk wanted to recreate the Battle of Waterloo at actual scale, so the Soviet government gave him 15,000 Red Army soldiers for 4 months. Nobody has made a battle scene like this before, or since, because nobody can afford 15,000 extras anymore. The Battle of Waterloo happened on June 18th, 1815, Napoleon's final battle. The film recreates it with obsessive accuracy. The uniforms came from museums. The weapons are period accurate. The cavalry charges used real horses, thousands of them. The formations match historical records. French columns advancing, British squares defending. The cavalry charges happened at the actual times they happened in the real battle. Military historian Andrew Roberts said, "The battle sequence is more accurate than most documentaries. The tactics are correct. The timeline matches historical accounts. Even the weather is right. It rained the night before Waterloo. The film shows the mud, the difficulty moving artillery. Napoleon delayed his attack because of the wet ground, just like the real battle. The scale is staggering. 15,000 soldiers in authentic uniforms executing actual Napoleonic tactics. The French cavalry charges show real horses being stopped by infantry squares. The British squares hold formation under cavalry attack exactly as they did in reality. When the Imperial Guard makes its final attack up the ridge, they're moving in the same columns on the same terrain where it actually happened. Columbia Pictures released it in October of 1970. It cost $28 million, made only about $6 million at the US box office. A catastrophic bomb. But historians and military experts still study the battle sequence. Napoleon expert David Chandler called it the most accurate recreation of Napoleonic warfare ever filmed. You can't make films like this anymore. The cost, the logistics. Waterloo represents the end of an era when you could use actual armies to film battles. Movie 2, Saving Private Ryan, 1998, Omaha Beach.
3 men. 5 men to shoot the opportunity. 1 man to waste the ammo.
Stand out of your weapons. Keep those extras.
Steven Spielberg talked to D-Day veterans for years before filming the Omaha Beach sequence. Veterans of Easy Red Sector, Dog Green Sector. They told him what it looked like, what it sounded like, what it felt like. And when the film came out in 1998, those same veterans said it gave them PTSD flashbacks. The sequence is 24 minutes of chaos. The landing craft doors open, German machine gun fire tears through the men, bodies in the water, soldiers drowning under the weight of their equipment, the underwater shots showing bullets streaking through the water, men getting their limbs blown off, medics trying to help soldiers with their intestines hanging out. It's the most brutal combat sequence ever filmed by a major studio. Dale Dye, the military advisor, trained the actors at a boot camp, made them live like soldiers. They shot the sequence on a beach in Ireland that matched the Normandy topography. The obstacles on the beach are exact replicas. Czech hedgehogs, Belgian gates. The pillboxes match German blueprints. The weapons are period accurate. The MG-42 rate of fire is correct. That's what created the zipper sound veterans remembered. Spielberg used handheld cameras, removed the shutter to create a staccato effect, desaturated the color, made it look like combat footage from the war. The sound design is overwhelming. Bullets whizzing, explosions, men screaming, but also moments of silence when Captain Miller's ears ring after an explosion. That's accurate. Combat trauma causes temporary hearing loss. Veterans who saw it said this was the first time a movie showed what Omaha Beach was really like. The chaos, the confusion, the random death. Stephen Ambrose, the historian who wrote about D-Day extensively, said it was the most realistic 20 minutes of combat ever filmed. The British D-Day Veterans Association gave Spielberg an award for finally showing what they experienced. Movie 3, Gettysburg, 1993, Pickett's Charge.
Virginians! Virginians! For your lands! For your homes!
Ronald Maxwell filmed Pickett's Charge on the actual battlefield with 5,000 Civil War reenactors who brought their own authentic uniforms and weapons. The result is the most historically accurate recreation of a Civil War battle ever filmed. Pickett's Charge happened on July 3, 1863, the final Confederate assault at Gettysburg. 15,000 men marching across 3/4 of a mile of open ground into Union artillery and rifle fire. It was suicidal. The film shows why. The Confederate troops form up in 2 lines. That's accurate. They start marching. The Union artillery opens up. Solid shot, shells, case shot. The Confederate lines start taking casualties, but they keep formation. That's what really happened. Civil War tactics required men to maintain formation even under fire. It looks insane to modern eyes, but that's how battles were fought. The film shows the tactical details, the oblique movement of the lines to concentrate the attack, the way artillery creates gaps in the formations, the Union switching from solid shot to canister as the range closes. When the Confederates reach the stone wall, the hand-to-hand fighting is brief and brutal. That's accurate too. Most of Pickett's men never reached the wall. Those who did fought for minutes before being killed or captured. Maxwell worked with National Park Service historians. They approved every detail, the uniforms, the flags, the weapons, the formations. The film was shot in sequence over 50 days. The reenactors knew Civil War tactics. When you see them advancing under fire, they're executing actual period maneuvers. Military historians use this sequence to teach Civil War tactics. The Gettysburg National Military Park shows it to visitors. It's that accurate. Turner Pictures released it directly to TV and home video after a limited theatrical run. But for Civil War historians, this is the gold standard. The most accurate recreation of a Civil War battle on film. Movie 4, Zulu, 1964, Rorke's Drift.
Stop your dreaming, can't you see their spear points gleaming? See their warrior pennons streaming to this battlefield. Sing!
Cy Enfield filmed the Battle of Rorke's Drift in South Africa at the actual location where it happened. He used Zulu advisors to ensure the attacking tactics were accurate. And he recreated one of history's most incredible defensive stands with meticulous historical detail. The battle happened in January 1879. 150 British soldiers defending a mission station against 4,000 Zulu warriors. The film shows the tactics that let the British survive. The barricades made of mealie bags and biscuit boxes. The interior fallback positions. The way they created a smaller perimeter as the Zulus overran the outer defenses. The Zulu tactics are accurate too. The Horns of the Buffalo formation, the way they used the terrain for cover, the probing attacks to test the defenses before the main assault. Chief Mangosuthu Buthelezi, who plays his own ancestor King Cetshwayo in the film, ensured the Zulu warriors moved and fought using authentic tactics. The weapons are period correct. The British Martini Henry rifles, the fire rate, the reload time. The film shows how the British maintained volley fire in coordinated ranks. That's what kept the Zulus from overwhelming them. The Zulus used their traditional weapons, assegais, knob carries, shields. The film doesn't give them anachronistic firearms they didn't have. What makes the sequence truly accurate is the respect shown to both sides. The Zulus aren't mindless savages. They're disciplined warriors using sophisticated tactics. The British aren't supermen. They're terrified soldiers fighting for their lives. The singing from both sides actually happened. The Zulus sang war songs. The British sang Men of Harlech to keep their spirits up. Paramount released it in January of '64. Military historians praised the accuracy. The Royal Military Academy at Sandhurst uses it to teach defensive tactics. Lieutenant Chard and Lieutenant Bromhead both won Victoria Crosses for the action. The film shows why they earned them. Movie 5, Master and Commander, 2003. Naval combat.
Let's fly! Let's fly!
Peter Weir made a film about Nelson-era naval warfare in 2003. He built a full-scale frigate, hired Patrick O'Brien's naval historians as advisors, and created the most accurate depiction of age-of-sail combat ever filmed. The HMS Surprise engaged the French privateer, Acheron. The sequence shows exactly how naval combat worked in 1805. The ships maneuvering for position, trying to get the wind gauge, the way the Surprise has to turn to bring her broadside to bear, the timing of the broadsides, the way the crews reload, the smoke obscuring everything, the splinters from impacts killing more men than the actual cannonballs. Russell Crowe plays Captain Jack Aubrey. He's giving orders that are actual Royal Navy commands from the period. Hands to braces, helm hard over, fire as you bear. The crew responds with period-appropriate movements, the gun crews working together, swabbing, loading, running out the guns, the Marines in the fighting tops firing down on the enemy deck. The damage is realistic. When a cannonball hits, it doesn't explode. It crashes through the hull, creates a spray of splinters. Those splinters are what killed most sailors. The film shows men with limbs torn off by splinters, the surgeon operating below deck. No anesthetic, just rum and speed. That's accurate. Naval historian N.A.M. Roger called it the most accurate naval combat ever filmed. Every detail is correct. The way ships handle in combat, the smoke, the noise, the confusion, the way casualties mount, from cumulative damage, not single devastating hits. Fox and Universal co-released it in November of 2003, made $111 million domestic, over $200 million worldwide. A hit. And every naval museum in the world uses it to show what age of sail combat was really like. Peter Weir got it right. Movie 6, All Quiet on the Western Front, 2022, Trench Warfare. Edward Berger made a new adaptation of Eric Maria Remarque's novel in 2022. He recreated World War I trench warfare with brutal accuracy. Veterans of Iraq and Afghanistan said it was the closest they'd seen to actual combat depicted on film. The trench assault sequence shows what the Western Front was really like. German soldiers going over the top. No man's land is a hellscape. Craters, mud, bodies, barbed wire everywhere. Artillery raining down. Machine gun fire from the French trenches, men dying in waves, the ones who reach the enemy trench fight with shovels and clubs. Close quarters brutality, no glory, just survival. Berger worked with World War I historians. The trenches are period accurate, the dugouts, the duck boards, the mud. The film shows men living in these conditions for months. Trench foot, rats, the constant artillery bombardment, shell shock. The film doesn't romanticize any of it. The tactics are accurate too. The preliminary artillery barrage, the whistle to go over the top, the formations being cut down by machine guns, the way artillery craters provide the only cover, the fact that capturing a trench means nothing if you can't hold it, the German Spring Offensive of 1918. The film shows the breakthrough tactics that initially worked before logistics collapsed. The weapons are period correct. Gewehr 98 rifles, MP-18 submachine guns, stick grenades. The flamethrower sequence is horrifying and accurate. That's what flamethrowers did. The sound design is overwhelming. Constant artillery, machine gun fire, men screaming. Then moments of eerie silence after your ears have been damaged. Netflix released it in October of 2022. It won 4 Oscars, including Best International Film. Military historians called it the most accurate World War I film since the original 1930 version. German veterans groups praised it for finally showing the horror of the Great War without propaganda or nationalism.
Irene!
Copy, Irene.
Fucking Irene! Why are they burning tires?
Movie 7, Black Hawk Down, 2001, Battle of Mogadishu. Ridley Scott made a film about the October 3rd, 1993 battle in Mogadishu. He used the actual Delta Force operators and Rangers as advisors. Some of them played themselves in the film. The result is the most accurate depiction of modern urban combat ever filmed. The sequence shows the chaos of fighting in a city, the 2 Black Hawk helicopters going down, American forces trapped in a hostile city with thousands of Somali militia converging on them. The film shows small unit tactics, room clearing, suppressive fire, wounded extraction, communication breakdown, running out of ammunition, all the things that went wrong in the actual battle. The Delta operators on set ensured the tactics were correct, the way the teams move, hand signals, covering sectors, the Rangers forming a defensive perimeter around the first crash site, the convoy trying to reach them and getting lost in the city. All of it matches the after-action reports. The weapons are accurate, M4 carbines, M16s, M249 saws, M60 machine guns. The film shows ammunition consumption. In real combat, you go through magazines fast. The Somali militia using RPGs to shoot down helicopters. That's what actually happened. The tactics of using RPGs in urban terrain. Tom Sizemore plays Lieutenant Colonel Danny McKnight, who led the convoy. Josh Hartnett plays Staff Sergeant Matt Eversman, who led the Rangers. Eric Bana plays SFC Norm Hooten, a Delta operator. Many of the actual participants consulted on the film. They approved the accuracy. Military historian Mark Bowden wrote the book. He was on set ensuring accuracy. West Point uses the film to teach urban combat tactics. The scenario is studied at military academies worldwide. What went wrong? How the mission devolved? How small unit leadership kept casualties from being worse? Columbia released it in December of 2001. Made $109 million domestic. Veterans who were there said it was accurate. That's the highest praise any war film can receive. Movie 8, 1917, 2019, No Man's Land. Zero means 060. If 21029. Sam Mendes made a World War I film designed to look like one continuous shot. But beyond the technical achievement, the depiction of no man's land and trench systems is stunningly accurate. Military historians praised it as one of the most realistic recreations of Western Front terrain ever filmed. The sequence of Lance Corporals, Schofield, and Blake crossing no man's land shows what that landscape really looked like. Shell craters overlapping, acres of mud, barbed wire everywhere, bodies decomposing, dead horses, flooded craters you can drown in, trees reduced to splinters. The earth just churned to moonscape. Mendes worked with Imperial War Museum historians. The trench systems are accurate. The communication trenches, the dugouts, the way trenches zigzag to prevent enfilade fire, the duckboards to keep men out of the mud, the revetments, the sandbags. Every detail is period correct. The film shows how difficult movement was. Crossing no man's land in daylight was suicide. The characters move through abandoned trenches. German trenches more elaborate than British ones. That's historically accurate. The Germans were defending. They built better fortifications. The Hindenburg line bunkers, the concrete pillboxes, all accurately depicted. The sequence in the ruined farmhouse, the booby trap, the rats, the collapsed roof, the sniper. This shows the danger of advancing into enemy-held territory. Every building could be trapped or defended. The flare illumination at night, the way it creates harsh shadows and makes movement visible. That's accurate for night operations. Roger Deakins shot it with long takes to create spatial continuity. You understand the geography, the distance, the obstacles. That helps the accuracy. You see how far men had to advance under fire, why casualty rates were so high. Universal released it in December of 1919. Made $184 million domestic, won 3 Oscars. Military historians called it one of the most accurate World War I films ever made. The terrain, the conditions, the obstacles soldiers faced, all perfectly recreated. Movie 9, We Were Soldiers, 2002. Ayadrang Valley.
It was a Sunday, November 14th, 1965. Before that day, the soldiers of North
Randall Wallace made a film about the first major battle between U.S. and North Vietnamese forces in November of 1965. Lieutenant General Hal Moore, who commanded the actual battle, served as advisor. The result is one of the most accurate Vietnam War battle sequences ever filmed. Moore consulted on every aspect: the tactics, the terrain, the way the battle developed. The film shows the air cavalry concept, helicopters inserting infantry into landing zones. The 1st Battalion, 7th Cavalry landing at LZ X-Ray, immediately making contact with a much larger North Vietnamese force. Moore's tactics of creating a tight defensive perimeter, using artillery support, calling in airstrikes danger close. The film gets the chaos right. The jungle terrain limiting visibility, the North Vietnamese human wave attacks, the Americans forming a defensive circle, running low on ammunition, the scene where men are down to their last magazines and fixing bayonets. That happened. The second night when North Vietnamese forces nearly overran the perimeter. That happened. The weapons are accurate. M16 rifles, M60 machine guns, the M16 jamming problems that actually occurred in Vietnam. The film doesn't hide that. The North Vietnamese using AK-47s and RPGs, the Huey helicopters, the way they land under fire, the door gunners providing suppressing fire, medevac operations under combat conditions. Moore insisted the portrayal of North Vietnamese forces be respectful. They're not mindless. They're professional soldiers using sophisticated tactics. The NVA commander played by Duong Don is shown as capable and brave. That's historically accurate. The North Vietnamese were formidable opponents. Paramount released it in March of 2002. Made $115 million worldwide. Moore appeared at the premiere and said this was the most accurate depiction of the battle. Vietnam veterans groups agreed. The Army uses it at West Point to teach airmobile operations. When the actual commander says it's accurate, that's the highest validation possible. Movie 10, The Longest Day, 1962. D-Day Multifront. Daryl F. Zanuck produced an epic about D-Day from multiple perspectives. American, British, French, German. He hired actual D-Day veterans to play themselves, used real locations where possible, and created a comprehensive recreation of June 6, 1944 that historians still reference. The film shows the complexity of Operation Overlord, the airborne drops scattered across Normandy, the naval bombardment, 5 different beach landings, each with different challenges. Omaha Beach, where Americans took heavy casualties. Utah Beach, where the current pushed them off target but they adjusted. The British at Sword and Gold Beaches. Canadians at Juno. What makes it accurate is the attention to tactical detail. The German defensive positions, Rommel's beach obstacles, the Atlantic Wall fortifications. The film shows why some beaches were bloodbaths and others relatively easy. The terrain, the German troop quality, the timing of the attacks. The film cast actual participants. Richard Todd plays Major John Howard at Pegasus Bridge. Todd was actually at Pegasus Bridge during the invasion, just not with Howard's unit. The film includes German perspectives. Kurt Jürgens plays General Blumentritt. Werner Hinz plays Field Marshal Rommel. Their scenes show German command confusion, the delay in releasing Panzer reserves, Hitler sleeping through the invasion. The equipment is period accurate. The CC-47 transport planes, the Waco gliders, the landing craft, the DD tanks that sank at Omaha. That actually happened. The film shows it, the Higgins boats, the obstacles on the beaches, all authentic. 20th Century Fox released it in October of '62. Made over $50 million worldwide. A huge hit. Eisenhower watched it before he died and called it accurate. Stephen Ambrose used it when teaching D-Day history. The multi-perspective approach showing the scope of the operation. That's what makes it valuable. You see how everything was supposed to work and where it went wrong. Movie 11, Glory, 1989, Fort Wagner Assault. Edward Zwick made a film about the 54th Massachusetts Volunteer Infantry, the first African-American regiment in the Civil War. The assault on Fort Wagner in July 1863 is recreated with historical accuracy that makes it one of the best Civil War combat sequences ever filmed. The 54th led the attack on Fort Wagner, a Confederate fortification protecting Charleston Harbor. The assault happened at dusk. The regiment advanced in formation across open beach. Confederate artillery and rifle fire tore into them. The film shows this brutal reality. Zwick worked with Civil War historians. The fort's layout is accurate. The approach across the beach, the distance, the obstacles. The defenders had clear fields of fire. The assault was suicidal. 600 men advancing against a fortified position with artillery support. The regiment made it to the fort. Some climbed the walls, fought hand to hand, but they couldn't hold. They withdrew with heavy casualties. The film shows the courage required. These men knew the odds. Colonel Shaw, played by Matthew Broderick, led from the front. He was killed on the parapet. That's historically accurate. Sergeant Major Rawlins, played by Morgan Freeman, took command. Also accurate. The film doesn't sanitize the casualties. Men getting hit by artillery, grape shot tearing through formations, the carnage of Civil War combat. The weapons are period correct. Springfield rifles, smoothbore artillery. The film shows the fire and reload cycle. The way formations maintained cohesion under fire, the colors being the rallying point. When the color bearer falls, another picks up the flag. That was doctrine. TriStar released it in December of '89. Made $127 million worldwide. Won 3 Oscars. Civil War historians praise the accuracy of the assault sequence. The National Park Service at Fort Wagner uses it for interpretation. The courage of the 54th. The tactical reality of the assault. Both accurately depicted. Zwick got it right. Movie 12, 13 Hours, 2016, Benghazi Siege. Michael Bay made a film about the September 11, 2012 attack on the U.S. diplomatic compound in Benghazi, Libya. The 6-man security team that defended it consulted on the film. The result is one of the most tactically accurate modern combat sequences ever filmed. The security contractors who were there worked with Bay on every detail: the layout of the compound, the weapons, the tactics they used, the timeline of the 13-hour siege. Bay recreated the compound in Malta, matching the actual floor plan. The defensive positions, the blind spots, the places they held. The combat shows small unit tactics, fields of fire, ammunition management, the way the team moved between positions as the attackers probed defenses. Using mortars for indirect fire. The sequence where they're defending the CIA annex. Mortar rounds impacting. Having to adjust positions. That's all from the actual participants' accounts. The weapons are accurate. The contractors used whatever was available. M4s, AK-47s taken from attackers, belt-fed machine guns. The film shows weapon malfunctions, magazines running dry, having to reload under fire, the chaos of night combat, using lasers and NVGs, the fog of war, not knowing how many attackers, where they're positioned. What makes it accurate is the lack of Hollywood heroics. These men are professionals doing a job. They're scared, they're tired, they run out of ammunition, they make mistakes. They survive through training and teamwork, not superhuman ability. That's realistic. Paramount released it in January of 2016. Made $69 million worldwide on a $50 million budget. Barely broke even. Critics were mixed, but the actual participants said Bay got it right. The security contractors who survived appeared with the cast at premieres. Their approval of the accuracy is what matters. This is their story told correctly. Movie 13, Ran, 1985. Samurai Siege Warfare. Akira Kurosawa made his adaptation of King Lear set in feudal Japan. The Siege of the Third Castle is one of the most accurate depictions of samurai-era warfare ever filmed. Kurosawa studied period records and battle plans to get every detail correct. The sequence shows a coordinated assault on a fortified position. The attacking forces surround the castle. Archers fire from elevated positions. Ashigaru foot soldiers with spears form the main assault. Mounted samurai command and coordinate. This matches 16th century Japanese military doctrine. The tactics are period accurate. The attacking forces use fire arrows to set buildings ablaze. That was standard siege warfare. The defenders have limited water. Fire was the most effective siege weapon. The walls aren't high stone fortifications. They're wooden palisades. That's accurate for the period. Japanese castles weren't European stone fortresses. The armor and weapons are authentic. Kurosawa was obsessive about detail. The samurai wear full Oyoroi armor. The Ashigaru have simple armor. The Naginata polearms, the Yari spears, the bows, all period correct. The film shows the class hierarchy. Samurai leading, Ashigaru doing the actual fighting and dying. The choreography of the battle is based on historical accounts. The way forces maneuver, the use of flags for signaling, the drum beats coordinating movements. The sequence has minimal dialogue. The music, by Toru Takemitsu, conveys the tragedy. You watch a family destroying itself through war. The tactical accuracy makes the tragedy more powerful. Kurosawa spent years researching before filming. He worked with historians, studied battle scrolls. The siege sequence took weeks to film with hundreds of extras. The attention to detail is what separates Ran from other samurai films. This is how feudal warfare actually worked. Orion Classics released it in the US in December of '85. Made only 4 million domestic. Japan loved it. The West didn't understand it. But historians of Japanese warfare study this sequence. The tactics, the equipment, the social hierarchy, all accurately depicted in Kurosawa's final epic. Movie 14, Lawrence of Arabia, 1962, Desert Warfare. David Lean made an epic about T.E. Lawrence and the Arab revolt against the Ottoman Empire during World War I. The battle sequences recreate desert warfare with remarkable accuracy for 1962. The assault on Aqaba is the centerpiece. Lawrence leads Arab forces on a flanking attack through the Nafud Desert. The Ottomans fortified Aqaba against naval attack. The guns face the sea. Lawrence attacks from the land side where defenses are weak. The tactics match the historical record. The film shows the Arab tactics Lawrence helped develop. Guerrilla warfare, raids on the Hejaz Railway, hit and run attacks. The Arab forces aren't equipped for set-piece battles. They have rifles and camels. They use mobility, strike and withdraw. That's accurate for irregular warfare in the desert. The attack itself is cavalry charging Ottoman positions. The Ottomans had machine guns and artillery, but they're positioned wrong. The Arab forces overwhelm them through surprise and numbers. The hand-to-hand fighting is brief and brutal. The film doesn't romanticize it. Men dying in the sand, no glory, just violence. Lean filmed in Jordan and Spain. The desert landscapes are authentic. The logistics of desert warfare, water, navigation, the way heat affects everything. The film shows this. The crossing of the Nafud nearly killed them. That happened. Lawrence's tactical innovations were using traditional Bedouin warfare, enhanced with modern weapons and strategy. Peter O'Toole plays Lawrence with the actual T.E. Lawrence's mannerisms studied from footage. Omar Sharif plays Sharif Ali. Alec Guinness plays Prince Faisal. The cast underwent the desert conditions. That authenticity shows. Columbia released it in December of '62, made over 44 million, won 7 Oscars, including Best Picture. Military historians study the guerrilla tactics, the way Lawrence adapted British military thinking to Arab irregular warfare. The film accurately shows this adaptation, not perfect in every detail, but accurate in depicting desert warfare tactics and Lawrence's innovations. Movie 15, Apocalypto, 2006, Pre-Columbian Warfare. Mel Gibson made a film about the Maya in the early 16th century. The warfare depicted is based on archaeological evidence and historical records from the conquistadors. While controversial in some aspects, the battle tactics and combat shown are surprisingly accurate for pre-Columbian Mesoamerica. The village raid at the beginning shows Mayan warfare practices. The attacking force uses stealth. They strike at dawn. The goal is capturing prisoners for sacrifice and slavery, not territory. That's accurate. Mayan warfare was about prestige and captives. The weapons are correct. Obsidian-bladed clubs, atlatls, spears, the lack of metal weapons, all historically accurate. The hand-to-hand combat is brutal, close quarters fighting with stone weapons. The film doesn't glamorize it. Stone weapons cause horrific injuries, crushing rather than cutting. The archaeological record shows this type of trauma on skeletal remains. The tactical approach of ambush and overwhelming force. That matches Mayan military practice. The chase through the jungle shows how Mayans used terrain. Forest warfare required different skills than open field battles. The pursuit is relentless. The film shows traps, snares, the way the protagonist uses the environment. This is based on how indigenous warriors fought. Gibson worked with archaeologists, consultants from Mayan communities. The weapons and tactics were researched. The film is spoken in Yucatec Maya. The attention to authenticity extends to combat. The limitations of Stone Age warfare. The way battles were smaller scale. More about raids than armies. That's accurate for the region and period. Touchstone released it in December of 2006, made $120 million worldwide. Archaeologists were divided. Some praised the research, others said the human sacrifice was exaggerated. But military historians studying pre-Columbian warfare acknowledged the combat sequences were more accurate than most films about indigenous Americans. The tactics and weapons matching archaeological evidence. The Soviet army gave a director 15,000 real soldiers to recreate Napoleon's final battle. D-Day veterans walked out of a movie theater with PTSD because the beach landing was too realistic. A Civil War film used actual battlefield terrain and authentic tactics that military historians still study. And a World War I movie recreated trench warfare so accurately that veterans said it finally showed what they experienced. These were 15 battle scenes that got it right. Not Hollywood spectacle. Real tactics. Real weapons. Real chaos. Spielberg consulting D-Day veterans. Ridley Scott using Delta Force operators. Kurosawa studying feudal battle records. Hal Moore advising on his own battle. Military historians study these scenes. Veterans say they're accurate. That's the highest praise. These filmmakers did the research, hired the right advisors, and created battle sequences that show what combat really looked like. Not what Hollywood thinks it should look like. What it actually was.